Howdy, y'all. Mrs. Snarky here, of course. We're continuing our snarky philosophy, and I have a lovely, wonderful, cute, funny, smart co host, the Godless Iwan.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, goodness. And we are talking about epic titties. Is it epic titties? It's epic titties.
No, I think we played that out in the first episode.
Yeah, but it's still fun. I still like it. I like
I don't
how
know if it is.
I think so. So we're talking about Epictetus and the Enchiridion. And last week we went over the things that are in our control and things that are not, which is body, property, reputation, etc., etc. And the things in our control are our opinions, pursuits, desires, aversion, and whatever are our own actions. So yeah, that alone is good advice for life, I think, don't you?
Yes.
Definitely. And so, in order to free ourselves from suffering, it's kind of imperative that we know this, that we know what's in our control and what isn't. And the view that we take on the things that are not within our control is very important.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Stimulating commentary.
I know.
But yeah, we made it all the way to, what was it, two last
Yes, we
time?
made it to 2.
Okay. And we also talked about some of the other definitions and stuff. But if you want to know those, after this, you can kind of go back to the other one if you're lost. Um, but yeah, so we're going with, is it verse 3 or section 3? I'm going to go with section.
Section 3. It's not verse.
Well, I mean, I'm so used to the Bible. Uh, but yeah, so section 3, with regard to whatever objects give you delight, are useful, or are deeply loved, remember to tell yourself of what general nature they are, beginning from the most insignificant things. If, for example, you are fond of a specific ceramic cup, remind yourself that it is only ceramic cups in general of which you are fond. Then, if it breaks, you will not be disturbed. If you kiss your child, your wife, say that you only kiss things which are human, and thus you will not be disturbed if either of them dies. So this is,
Dark.
yeah, that's pretty dark, but I mean,
But it's not really.
well, I mean, these are things that do typically disturb us, the impermanence of things and people and life, just
Yeah.
in general. So I'd say that ultimately, the person that is alive, this would be the most concerning thing, the most disturbing thing.
Yeah, so I mean, we can break it down. Um whatever gives you delight uh are useful or deeply loved. Basically, this is saying that whatever you find joy in, it's not generally actually the thing itself, but what that thing does.
Right.
So with the cup, it's saying, if you have a favorite mug that you drink coffee with every morning, the mug has absolutely nothing to do with the coffee. Um, if that mug were to break, you can get another mug. It's going to hold coffee just the same. Um, as far as your child or your wife, it's basically saying to keep in mind that all people are mortal.
Yeah.
And so when you kiss your child or when you kiss your wife, realize that they're mortal and that one day they're going to die. And so that won't take you by surprise if that were to occur.
Right.
Um, not that you won't mourn or be sad that that's happened, but you'll be prepared if
Right.
it does happen.
And it's not so much that you don't know this already. I mean, we instinctively know this and have lots of anxiety and dread over this. In fact, I'd say we spend a lot of our time worrying and in that state of dread. But it's more about recognizing that You can
Everything is impermanent.
impermanent it. Yeah, so if you realize this, you can find delight in enjoying the time that you have.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the contemplation that I think Epictetus is trying to put forth.
Yeah.
You ready for section 4?
I am.
When you are going about any action, remind yourself what nature the action is. If you're going to bathe, picture yourself the things which usually happen in the bath. Some people splash the water, some push, some use abusive language, and others steal. Thus, you will more safely go about this action if you say to yourself, I will now go bathe and keep my own mind in a state comfortable to nature. And in that same manner with regard to every action. For thus, if any hindrance arises in bathing, you will have it ready to say, it was not only to bathe that I desired, but to keep my mind in a state comfortable to nature, and I will not keep it if I am bothered at things that happen. So, for context, during this society, the Romans had public bath. I'm pretty sure that that's what he's referring to here.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like going to the pool, but more crowded and
Kind of. These were really crowded. So like what he's saying here is imagine that you're going to a public place and you want to relax. You should also keep in mind that there's a good chance you're not going to be able to relax because of other people around you.
right.
And so you're going to relax, but you're also going to enjoy the experience and try to find some way of keeping a peace of mind about it. So like if you take a book to a public place expecting to read and not expecting someone to come up and say, "What are you reading?"
Hmm.
you're probably have an unrealistic mindset.
Oh yeah.
Because ultimately, if you have a book in a public place, someone's going to come up and say, What are you reading? Is that
or
good?
or what you reading for?
What are you reading for?"
Gee, I don't know. But yeah, it's all about expectation, really. If you expect things to go the way you imagine it in your mind, and it doesn't, then you're going to be more disturbed than if you go into it with the mindset of things may occur that are out of my control and that I don't like and I don't prefer.
Yeah, so with the bath in mind, you're getting ready to you've worked probably all week. They didn't bathe like daily generally back then. So you've
Right.
worked all week, you're sore, you're tired, and you're like, "Oh, I just want to spend a relaxing day in the bath." And so you have that in mind. You go to the bath, and then there's all these people around. They're all just being asses. And you got to also remember you're there to get clean too. So as long as you get clean and get
Yeah.
out of there with your sanity intact, it's probably been a better day than if you dwelt on all the bad stuff.
And I do want to take the time to say hi, everybody in the chat. Um, we do have a comment from TV2 Me. I'm sorry, this still does not make me like Black Friday crowds, and I'm with you there. One thing that is also important, if you know to know your limits, right? If you know that you're not going to do well in the Friday crowd and you want to avoid that, by all means, do it. I
Yeah, don't.
certainly do. I don't go anywhere on Black Friday.
Cyber
Never.
Monday is way better anyway.
Oh yeah.
Don't. Yeah, if you know that you can't take Black Friday crowds, this isn't saying go out there and do it anyway. You should know your limits. So if you can't take
Yeah.
Black Friday, don't do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's wise advice. But yeah, it's basically just saying, circumstances and what other people do, what they say to you, is out of your control. So expect these things to happen, and you'll be prepared for it. You'll have a lot more of a peaceful state of mind going into it
Yeah.
if you have to go and take a bath publicly.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to read section 5 or do you want me to?
I'll read it.
Okay.
Men are disturbed not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things. Death, for instance, is not terrible, else it would have appeared so to Socrates. But the terror consists in our notion of death that it is terrible. When therefore we are hindered or disturbed or grieved, let us never attribute it to others, but to ourselves, that is, to our own principles. An uninstructed person will lay the fault of his own bad condition upon others. Someone just starting instruction will lay the fault on himself. Someone who is perfectly instructed will place blame neither on others nor on himself.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. So
Yes.
it's basically it's highlighting that you're not really disturbed by the circumstances, but the view that of which you take of it. And were you gonna say something?
I was letting you finish.
Oh, okay. So, and one another thing that I think is really important is this idea that people tend to project the things that is grieving them onto other people. It's their fault. It's this person's fault, that person's fault, and I know I am a victim of my own self saying that this is my fault. Everything's my fault, and really, it's not. When it comes to blame, it seems like most of the time it's not necessary, especially when it comes to circumstance.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not necessary, like you said, especially in terms of circumstance. What this does is it helps you try to think about what is actually bothering you.
Right.
Um, because sometimes we'll get mad at a circumstance, but it's not actually the circumstance that we're mad at. We're mad at something else entirely. Um, so
Usually preconceived notions of things that we feel, right?
yeah, so
Believe.
let's say you're planning on taking a picnic and one of your kids gets sick.
Mhm.
And so you can't take the picnic. And you had planned in your mind this wonderful day that you were going to have out in nature, enjoying time with your family, and now that's just destroyed. And so your mindset might go, well, God damn it. Every time I plan something, one of these kids gets sick and they just ruin everything.
Mhm.
You're not actually mad at the kid. The kid had no control over getting sick. You're not mad at the circumstances because you have no idea if the picnic was actually going to go well or not. You were mad at the preconceived notion of the picnic that you had in your mind not going as planned. And you didn't prepare for other options.
Right.
So and it's another way of looking at it is, let's say someone says something and you hear it as a gruff statement. There's a good chance that you heard it wrong,
Right.
because everything that we perceive is just based on um our
Yeah.
own mindset.
Yeah,
So
that internal dialogue that we have. Yeah.
if you're already pissed off on any given day and someone says something that maybe is a little off-putting, they might not even be meaning it as off-putting. They just might be in a hurry, but it might piss you off entirely and you might lash out at that person even though what was said wasn't actually offensive or anything.
Right. If you're already in a state of mind where you're aggravated, and I'm the queen of this. I get up on the wrong side of the bed and everything goes wrong that day. And it's not because everything is wrong, it's just because my mindset at the time and the view that I'm taking of my day. If you wake up in the morning and you think this is going to be a shit day, well, of course it's going to be a shit day because you're taking that view.
Yeah. And you've already implanted that in your mind that this day is going to suck.
Mhm.
So it's going to be much harder for anything to get through and prove to you that the day doesn't suck.
Yeah, and this is why self-fulfilling prophecies work so often. And it's also why confirmation bias works so well because you've already got these preconceived notions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, that's definitely important to keep in mind.
Yes, it is.
All right. So, section 6, don't be prideful with any excellence that is not your own. If a horse should be prideful and say, I am handsome, it would be supportable. But when you are prideful and say, I have a handsome horse, know that you are proud of what is, in fact, only the good of the horse. What then is your own? Only your reaction to the appearance of things. Thus, when you behave comfortably to nature in reaction to how things appear, you will be proud with reason, for you will take pride in some good of your own.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people out there that take pride in things. And look at this $30,000 motorcycle that I drive. I'm so proud of this $30,000 motorcycle. Well, be proud in the work that you did to accomplish that,
Mhm.
because that $30,000 motorcycle is going to be a rust pile at some point.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the thing that you're actually proud, and nothing that you did made that $30,000 motorcycle a great thing. Others put work into it to make it worth $30,000. You just tossed money on a table and took it home.
Right.
Um,
And even, like, I know this isn't necessarily what he's getting at, but when it comes to your own looks, like if I were to say, I'm so beautiful, even that is like not of your own doing.
yeah, it's
Right.
genetics.
Yeah, it's just genetic. You just were handed circumstances that made you look the way you do in terms of genetics and environment and things like that. And also status, which for the most part is kind of out of your control as well. So, yeah. That's,
Definitely.
so,
Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, so how does this bring tranquility?
How does this bring tranquility?
Yeah, this idea of not being prideful. How do you avoid being disturbed by avoiding pride?
Well, I mean, if you're proud of something and then it gets destroyed, um, it brings you distress.
Yes.
Um, if you're a very vain person and something happens to remove your attractiveness, you're
Like
going to
age.
age, you're going to be distressed. Um, like if, for example, the car accident, if I had so much pride in that car, um, and then I wrecked it, I would be much more distressed than I am going, I don't have a way to get around.
Yeah,
That sucks.
exactly. That's a good example. And
Yeah.
definitely a real life example. That's one thing that I love about this text is that it's so applicable to life. I really like
Yeah.
that. So, do you want to read section 7?
Yeah. Consider when on a voyage your ship is anchored. If you go on shore to get water, you may along the way amuse yourself with picking up a shellfish or an onion. However, your thoughts and continual attention ought to be bent towards the ship, waiting for the captain to call on board. You must then immediately leave all these things, otherwise, you'll be thrown into the ship, bound neck and feet like a sheep. So it is with life. If, instead of an onion or a shellfish, you were given a wife or a child, that is fine. But if the captain calls, you must run to the ship, leaving them and regarding none of them. But if you're old, never go far from the ship, lest when you are called, you should be unable to come in time.
Yeah, so I think he's just kind of, with this example, just kind of reiterating what he already said in 6,
Mm,
but with a few added things.
I don't really see it as the same as 6. This is more about life. And
Mhm.
how when you're young, sure, it's fine to go and spend some time doing whatever you want, but when duty calls, you have to be there and you have to be a responsible person.
Okay.
And when you're old, sure, you can still spend some leisure time, but at the same time, time's almost up. You're gonna be out of service. So don't
Yeah.
don't tr- don't try to hedge your don't hedge all your bets on retirement, because if you're waiting for retirement to enjoy life, it's going to be too late.
Right. No, I just mean like in terms of being stuck in that sense of pride and, I'm going to be vigorous forever and
Yeah. I
things like
mean, yeah.
that. That's kind of the direction I was going in. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One must be very aware of what their limits are and where their priorities lie.
Definitely.
So, hey, don't demand things happen as you wish, but wish they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. Now, this is one of the most difficult things
Hmm.
because we have this tendency to want to control things that we cannot, and it's an illusion.
Yeah.
And so when we cling to this demand that things go as we want them to, and we get disappointed, it really disturbs us.
Yeah. I mean, this one's a hard one to do, to actually put into practice,
Oh yeah.
because we all want to be able to make plans and go, oh, I this weekend is going to go my way. Um, but realize that things might pop in that's going to change things. So just instead of demanding that things happen as you wish, just realize that things don't generally go as planned, and hope that you'll be able to roll with the tide, and
Definitely.
you'll feel a lot better. If you're set that this is how this has to go, then you're going to be disappointed.
Oh yeah. Every time. Because
Yeah.
disappointment happens often. Can you still hear me pretty well?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So, sickness is a hindrance to the body, but not to your ability to choose, unless that is your choice. Lameness is a hindrance to the leg, but not your ability to choose. Say this to yourself with regard to everything that happens, and you will see such obstacles as hindrance to something else, but not to yourself.
Yeah. Okay. This is really important. So, sickness isn't a hindrance to the body, but not to your ability to choose. Um, so, what that means is, if you're sick, like if you have a cold or the flu or something, you can choose to really just dive deep into the sickness
Yeah.
and refuse to do absolutely anything. We all know people that get a case of the sniffles and then they're out of work for a week. Um, when,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or they have like some kind of what you call it? Oh, Munchausen, like where they want to take advantage of the situation to get attention, or
yeah,
you have people wait on them, or just generally take advantage of people. But one thing you do have the ability to choose in terms of sickness or lameness or any of those kind of things is to go to the doctor
yeah, you can go to the
and,
doctor.
and take care of at least what is within your control um, in
Well,
terms of the sickness or lameness.
yeah, and okay, so if let's say you're in an accident and you lose an arm and you no longer have one of your arms.
Right,
Chances are there's going to be some things in life that you can't do that require two arms.
right.
So if you spend your time going, "Oh, this has hindered my entire life because I'm no longer able to do this, this, and this," you're going to be much more depressed than looking at things and going, "I can still do this, this, and this."
Yeah,
Um,
and nobody's going to want to hang out with you either
yeah,
because you're going to be.
no one, no one wants to hang out with the person that's constantly complaining.
Oh, woe is me. Oh, I've known so many people that were just every day, woe is them about anything and everything.
Hmm.
This is awful for the person that is feeling those feelings and everyone around them. So, yeah, there's that too. So we still have the choice of responding.
Yeah. We have a choice of responding and how we respond.
Yes.
Like we all know the stories where somebody say they lose their legs and then they overcome adversity and they overcome the obstacles and they do something great.
Yes.
For every one of those stories, there's probably 10 people that lost their legs and that was it.
Yep.
So what separates those people? It's how they've looked at the situation.
Yep.
And
Indeed. It reminds me of that the movie. Well, there was a real life instance of the girl that went surfing and the shark got her arm,
yeah.
and then she's still out there surfing,
Yep.
which is questionable. But I mean, she's doing what she loves. She's passionate about it, and I certainly wouldn't go back into the water with the sharks, but
No.
but still, I mean, she did not let it hinder her, and that's the main lesson in that. And when we see stories like that, we're so inspired by it.
Yeah. And
And
like pure
then,
ostension in the chat, Stephen Hawking,
yes,
he could have completely given up on everything.
yes,
There's probably a lot of people out there that would have, but the world would have been robbed of that brilliant mind if he had.
oh yeah, definitely.
And he fought through the adversity and was brilliant.
Hell yeah, Stephen Hawking kicks ass.
So do I get to read this one?
Sure.
With every accident, ask yourself what abilities you have for making a proper use of it. If you see an attractive person, you will find that self-restraint is the ability you have against your desire. If you're in pain, you'll find fortitude. If you hear unpleasant language, you'll find patience. And thus habituated, the appearance of things will not hurry you along with them. So I don't like how this translation uses accident because it's more along the lines of circumstance.
Ah, yeah,
It's with every circumstance, ask yourself what abilities you have for making a proper use of it. So in any situation that you're in, you're faced with choices,
right.
and there's choices that are better for you and choices that are not so good for you.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
figuring out the tools that you have in your mind and your abilities that keep you more so towards the good than the bad is important.
Most definitely. Uh, I mean, and it's really easy to observe this in other people.
Yeah.
Not so easy to reflect upon your own self when it comes to this kind of thing. Um, so that's another reason why I love this text so much is it makes me think about, well, how am I dealing with things? And
Yeah.
self-examination, I think, is the most important journey that any human being can take. And it's a never-ending journey. You're always learning new things and you're always finding new abilities to respond,
Yeah.
you know?
Definitely.
So the I think a lot of this kind of wisdom comes with age and
Yeah.
finding exactly what your abilities are and what your boundaries are. So you know what you can and can't do. So you have the ability to avoid things that and circumstances that you know you can't handle and to take on things that you can actually accomplish. And yeah,
Yes.
so let's see. Never say of anything, I have lost it, but I have returned it. Is your child dead? It is returned. Is your wife dead? She is returned. Is your estate taken away? Well, and is it not likewise returned? But he who took it away is a bad man. What difference is it to you who the giver assigns to take it back? While he does it to you to possess, take care of it, but don't view it as your own, just as travelers view a hotel. This is also really good in terms of examining the impermanence of things.
Yeah. So let me think. Okay, so he goes in like it goes very dark. Is your child dead? It is returned. Is your wife dead? She is returned. So I want you to think about all of the eons and eons of time and how much time before you existed, how much time after you exist. And then think of the time that you are in existence. Now, everything that you have when you're in existence is you have much more time that you're not in existence.
Right.
So anything that you have in this life and anything that you lose in this life wasn't yours for very long on the grand time scale of things. So it's about seeing things for what they are. If you have a really nice house, and I'm getting a bad echo now.
You are?
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
it was.
Is that better?
Let me see. Yeah, I can't hear it now.
Okay, good.
So if you have a really nice house, if you don't have proper upbringing or proper upkeep, it's going to fall apart and fall into disarray. Even with proper upkeep, your house isn't going to last forever.
No.
And you could lose your house. But if you lose your house, say a bank repossesses it, it was your house for much less time than it wasn't your house.
Right.
Yeah.
It's basically, any we live on borrowed time, basically, right? That
Yeah.
kind of sums it up. And in that time, and during that time, you really don't possess anything. Like possession to me is kind of an illusion.
Yeah. We don't really own anything.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, well, I have all this stuff in my vicinity, but not for long. It's it's also borrowing time, and
Yeah.
at least in my vicinity. So yeah, if you want to improve, reject such reasonings as if I neglect my affairs, I'll have no income. If I don't correct my servant, he will be bad. For it is better to die with hunger, exempt from grief and fear, than to live in affluence with perturbation. And it is better for your servant should be bad than you unhappy. Begin
Yeah.
therefore from little things. Is a little oil spilt? A little wine stolen? Say to yourself, this is the price paid for equanimity. For tranquility and nothing is to be had for nothing. When you call your servant, it is possible that he may not come, or if he does, he may not do what you want. But he is by no means of such importance that it should be in his power to give you any disturbance.
Yeah. So a good example of someone not doing this is someone in, say, someone's in line at a store and they get shortchanged a couple pennies
Mhm.
and they freak out and
Yeah,
they demand it to be fixed right then and there. And it's like, oh, yes, it's a couple pennies. I realize it's money and money is hard to come by, but it's a couple pennies. Just hold on. You don't have to barge back into the store and start shrieking at people because they shortchanged you by 2 cents.
yeah,
That's not doing you any good. It's not doing anyone around you any good. And it's just causing you far more disturbance than you actually need to be caused. We
definitely.
we spend a lot of time worrying about stuff that we can't actually control, and we spend just as much time worrying about small crap that we could have possibly had some control over.
Right. Yeah, and this kind of line of thought, we tend to do this as a cognitive distortion as well. It's like if one thing goes wrong, then all the things will go wrong, like a domino effect. And it's not necessarily always the case. Now, if you do neglect your affairs, you might not have income. I mean, that might be true, but it's not necessarily like you don't have to do all the things. It's we have this tendency to think catastrophically when it comes to things. If I don't do this right now, the whole world's going to blow up, kind of thing. And it's not really the case.
Oh
And
yeah. The first example, if you think of like a business owner that is incredibly anal about his business
but
and has to be there for every single decision, every single task. He or she is not enjoying their life, or they're not enjoying anything.
right.
All of their energy is spent worrying that some decision is going to be made that's going to destroy their business.
Hmm.
So it would be better for them to stop worrying so much and run the risk of, yes, some bad decision happening and enjoy life
Hmm.
than to spend all their time worried.
Yeah, I'm such a worry wart. I really am, and I'm aware of it. Right. I think about death a lot. Right, and I think, well, when I die, at that moment, if I'm aware that I am dying, I have this feeling that I'm going to look back at my life and realize that I've wasted so much time worrying about shit that didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I could have been enjoying what little time I had.
Well, then stop it.
I know, right?
Stop it.
It's a practice.
Yes.
It's
So,
Go ahead.
no, I was going to go ahead and read 13.
Okay, let me scroll up a bit. There we go.
If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. Don't wish to be thought to know anything. And even if you appear to somebody important to others, distrust yourself, for it is difficult to both keep your faculty of choice in a state comfortable to nature and at the same time acquire external things. But while you're careful about the one, you must what must of necessity neglect the other. So with this, like on my YouTube channel, I really grew in subs really fast in the first year.
Mhm.
Now I didn't grow as fast as other people, but I grew pretty fast. And a lot of people who grow quickly get this mindset of, I did this. This was me,
Yeah.
for I am important. And it's not actually true. It's just, yeah, you had a couple good videos and it really hit well with people and you got a lot of subs. Like I boomed in subs in my first 6 months and I had no idea why, because my content was garbage.
Oh, stop it.
I thought it was garbage.
I didn't. And
Um,
apparently your audience doesn't either.
I guess not, but just don't don't think too highly of yourself and don't worry about gathering in all these external things. Like a lot of people will think, I'll be happy when I have a three bedroom house with a 2-car garage, a large lawn, and a dog. And then they acquire all these things and they're no more happy.
Yeah.
And so then they have to acquire more things. Well, I really need a boat. A boat will really make me happy. And then they get a boat and the boat doesn't make them happy. And well, I have to travel all over the world and that will make me happy. And so they start traveling all over the world and that doesn't make them happy.
Yeah.
Because they've never learned to be content with just what they have. They're
Right.
always thinking about the next thing that's going to bring them happiness.
Right. It's kind of like drug addiction, they're chasing a dragon.
Yeah.
It's not a good state to be in.
And the same thing is for like high esteem among your peers. Like seeking after the esteem of your peers, of the respect and the adoration, you're going to have to suck a lot of dicks to do that, really.
Yeah.
It's It's not, I mean, it's not that's a little crude, but you got to kiss a lot of ass.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, kissing ass is way worse than just being happy with the respect that they currently have.
Oh yeah, definitely. What kind of self-respect can you have doing that?
You
But
can't. And once you get esteem with certain people, you lose esteem with other people.
it's true.
So think of it like a band. A band will have a certain group of fans when they first start out. And these fans absolutely love them. And then the band gets signed with a big record label and
Hmm.
they become sellouts.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And so they've completely lost the esteem of their old fans that held
Hmm.
them in high regard. Now they have new fans that hold them in high esteem and high regard, but the old fans hate them now because they've sold out.
Yeah, which is like, they're musicians. They gotta eat, y'all. That's ridiculous. Anyway, but all I know is I will be happy when I have a bunny.
No,
Oh.
you won't be happy when you have a bunny.
Well, I tried pure ostension. Thank you for having my back.
I think we should do 14 and then we should uh that
So,
should be the last one we do.
okay, that sounds fun. Do you want me to read it? Or
Yeah.
do you want to? Okay. If you wish your children and your wife and your friends to live forever, you are stupid. For you wish to be in control of things which you cannot. You wish for things that belong to others to be your own. So likewise, if you wish your servant to be without fault, you are a fool. For you wish vice not to be vice, but something else. But if you wish to have your desires undisappointed, this is in your control. Exercise, therefore, what is in your control. He is the master of every other person who is able to confer or remove whatever that person wishes either to have or to avoid. Whoever, then, would be free, let him wish nothing, let him decline nothing, which depends on others, else he must necessarily be a slave. That's a powerful statement.
Yeah. The less you're depending on others, the more free you are.
Yes,
And if I like how it says, if you wish your child and your wife and your friends to live forever, you're stupid. Um, because we want to have it all. We want to be able to fulfill all of our dreams and desires and hopes, and then also have this huge group of friends that is able to carry it along with us throughout all times, that they're always there when we need them, that we can kind of set them on a shelf and bring them out whenever we need them. And that's not how life works.
no, it's
Um,
not.
so you have to choose how you're going to spend your time. And if you're spending your time uh, worrying about what is outside of your control, then you become a slave to your desires and
Definitely.
your thoughts.
And one thing that I would like for my audience, whoever's watching right now, is to observe what your expectations are in circumstances, no matter what they are. Uh, Observe what you expect and see how that can alter the experience that you have in circumstances. I think that would be a good practice.
Yeah. Kind of sit down and write out all the things that you're worried about, and then figure out which of those things you actually have any control over.
Mm, I
Um,
like I like that.
yeah. Because a lot of times we spend a whole lot of time worrying about stuff that we have no control over whatsoever. Um,
Oh yeah. I know, like I have insomnia, so a lot of times it would, whenever my mind is running 1,000 miles an hour and I'm doing this worry loop thing, it it used to be really difficult, even more so than it is now, for me to go to sleep because I was just so worried about stuff. But over the years, I've been kind of practicing combating these thoughts and combating my expectations and stuff. And it's really made a difference.
Yeah.
I've learned to go, okay, well, should I be worried about this? Especially when it comes to things that have happened in the past. Like, you can't go back into the past and change things.
No.
What has been said and done is over. All you can do is learn from it. And when it comes to the future's not here yet. So, as long as you know and you're prepared for it, then there's no reason to be anxious for it either. It really helps to just be present. And you can't really enjoy life if you're living in the past or the future. You really can't.
No, you can't.
So be mindful of the present moment and what is within your control, and let go of the things that are not in your control. It really helps.
Yep.
So yeah, I think this has been a good talk. What do you think?
I think so.
And I wanted to thank everybody in the chat for showing up. Atheist Rationale, Pure Ostension, and let's see who else. Purple Rhymes with Orange. Thank you all for being here. Also, Grandma Mo says it's always lovely to see her in the chat. And thank you, Godless Iowan, for chatting with me.
I'm the Godless Iowan.
Yeah, sub to the Godless Iowan. And he also has a Patreon. I have it linked in the description, as well as my Patreon. If you want to give me money, that would be great.
Yeah. Give us your dirty, stinky money.
But yeah, I hope y'all have a great weekend, and I'll see y'all around. Bye.
Bye.